Mr. Jenrick, good morning to you.
Good morning. Nice to see you, Piers.
We asked Matt Hancock 3 times yesterday why the government had boycotted Good Morning Britain for 6 months, and answer came there none. Are you able to provide some clarity and explain why you boycotted the programme, all of you?
Well, I'm pleased to be back on the show, Piers. My family watched it every morning, and so I'm pleased to be here and able to answer questions for you today.
That was my question. Why did you boycott the programme?
Well, I've been doing media almost every week for the last 6 months. It's been widely reported that there's been some changes in government in the last few days, and the decision has been made to be back on your show, and I'm pleased to be here.
Did you agree with the boycott?
Well, my style is to try to be available to answer questions wherever I can. And so, as I say, I've been on ITV and many other channels over the course of the last 6 months trying to inform the public about the decisions that I'm taking and be available to be held to account. But
strange, I mean,
I'm very happy, pleased to be on the show again today and here to answer your questions.
And particularly pleased to hear that all your family watch it, but of course you were then denying your own family, along with all our other viewers, of up-to-date information about the pandemic. And reading between the lines, what you appear to be suggesting is that you were all bullied into not coming on the programme by Dominic Cummings and Lee Kane, who've now left the building.
Well, I mean, we can discuss the past, Piers, but I'm here to answer your questions and speak to your viewers this morning.
Okay.
And very, very pleased to be able to do so as well.
Good to see you. Let me ask you a question then. Boris Johnson has described devolution as a disaster yesterday when talking to Tory MPs. He said it was Tony Blair's biggest mistake. Understandably, that has caused huge ructions in Scotland who do not view devolution as a disaster at all. Why would the UK Prime Minister say such an incendiary thing?
Well, I wasn't on the call, but I think what the Prime Minister was saying, as I understand it, was not that he was opposed to devolution per se, that he's actually always supported devolution, and he supports further devolution within England as well, creating more regional mayors. But what he is concerned about is the rise of nationalism and separatism in Scotland.
That's not what he said.
That has ultimately been damaging for the UK.
But just to clarify, that is not what he said. He said devolution has been a disaster. It was Tony Blair's biggest mistake. It was Blair, of course, who brought it in. It's pretty definitive what he said. It's unequivocal. Devolution he's not supporting devolution. He's saying not only has it been a disaster, but it was Tony Blair's biggest mistake. The words of the Prime Minister to Tory MPs.
Well, neither you nor I know exactly what was said on that phone call.
There were 60 Tory MPs on the call.
Well, we don't know exactly what was said on the call, but what I think the Prime Minister was saying was that Tony Blair, those who created the devolution settlement, hoped that that would put to bed the separatist movement in Scotland. In fact, some people like Nicola Sturgeon and Alex Salmond have used it as a platform to further that agenda. And anybody who cares about the union, as I do, I know the Prime Minister does very strongly, sees that as disappointing, source of sadness, and that something we should now all fight against, because we want to see the United Kingdom stay together. And I actually think this year has shown the importance of the United Kingdom. We've seen that through the work of, say, the Treasury, where the heft of the UK Treasury has been able to step in and support people's jobs through the furlough scheme in all parts of the UK. We've seen it now with vaccinations, where the UK is out there in the international market trying to pre-order and procure as many vaccines as we can. And we're inevitably in a stronger position as the UK
let me jump in.
than we are as individual nations.
OK, let me jump in. I think what we've actually seen is a fracturing of the UK, with actually each part of the UK doing what the hell it likes. And doing very different things, whether it's Scotland or Northern Ireland or you're in Wales or in the England.
And moving more effectively and more quickly, and people like Nicola Sturgeon and Mark Drayford showing themselves to be more effective leaders in their nations than Boris Johnson has been.
And that is why the approval ratings...
On that last point, I'm not sure that is true. I mean, we won't be able to say with certainty how well different parts of the United Kingdom did for some time until we're able to look back on this, with the benefit of hindsight. But actually, if you look at the number of cases, if you look at how care homes were handled, there are questions to answer about the Scottish performance. I'm not saying that we got everything right in England either, but I think each of the governments of the United Kingdom have had successes and have had,
what did you get right, Mr. Jenrick?
Difficulties as well.
Given we haven't seen you for 6 months, given that we have the worst death toll in Europe, what did you get right in this pandemic?
Well, this was a uniquely challenging situation, but I think some things have gone well. I mean, if I look at it was as well as they could have done under the circumstances. If I look at the work that my department has done, I think we've done a great job, for example, at protecting some of the most vulnerable people in society, like the rough sleepers. We launched an initiative in the first few weeks, which I think I came on your programme to discuss, called Everyone In, that helped 90% of people sleeping rough on the streets into safe and secure accommodation today. There's 29,000 people in safe accommodation who would otherwise have either been on the streets exposed to the virus or in very precarious accommodation like sofa surfing.
Why didn't you take the same care?
That was a success. I'm not saying that was all the role of government. It was government working with councils and charities.
Why didn't you take the same care?
That's an example of something that's worked well.
Why didn't you take the same care with our elderly people?
You mentioned the issue of care homes in Scotland. We had a terrible situation in England with elderly patients being transferred from hospital to care homes without being tested properly for COVID.
Well, it has been an extremely challenging time for people living and those working in care homes. None of us would deny that. And there are important lessons to be learnt from that, which I hope have now been learnt. And the way we've approached this second wave has been quite different. We now have much more access to PPE, which was a real challenge in the early days. The last time I think I was on the programme, we were discussing how difficult it was procuring that in the international market. That has now improved. I'm hopeful that the 20 trials that are going on at the moment, enabling family and loved ones to visit people in care homes, will be a success, and that will enable people to be able to do that at great scale across the country as we approach Christmas.
One of the ways we're going to do this,
I find deeply troubling and very, very sad. And I know from personal experience, members of my own family, how hard it is not to be able to see people when you desperately want to see them and to hug them and give them love and support at this difficult time.
We talked to Matt Hancock about testing for care homes. We know that there is a pilot in 20 care homes. I mean, it was a disaster what happened at the beginning of the pandemic, but it feels like families are the ones who are being punished. We asked yesterday why testing isn't coming in quickly to help families see their loved ones by Christmas. We have had heartbreaking messages from families, and not just of elderly relatives, but of children and young people as well. You keep going on as a government about the testing capacity, and we know that the number of people being tested is far below that. Why aren't we using that excess capacity immediately to help families hold their relatives' hands?
Well, we are doing that now. There are the 20 pilots, as you say. I appreciate that seems a very small number when there's tens of thousands of care homes across the country. But we've got to get it right, and we don't want to expose people living in care homes or those working in care homes to the virus and make a big mistake. If we can learn from those pilots, which are happening now, then the Health Secretary's expectation is we'll be able to roll that out across the country. There's 400,000 people living in different types of care home at the moment, so that will be a big exercise. But he said yesterday that he hopes that as many of those people as possible, if not indeed all of them, will be able to have access to loved ones before Christmas. And that's the mission, if you like, that the Department of Health has set itself on in the weeks ahead. Of course,
one of the problems,
as anyone who has people, family in care homes or has had them in the past would know, it's heartbreaking not to be able to go and see people at this time.
One of the problems,
we all
Mr.
want
Jenrick,
to be able to get to that point as quickly as possible.
One of the problems at the moment, it seems to me, is this lockdown feels very different to the other lockdown. Most people are just getting on with their normal life. Traffic numbers are way up on where they were last time. A lot of places are open who perhaps shouldn't be, and yet we've also shut all the pubs, the restaurants, the clubs and the gyms and so on. It seems to me if we're not careful here, because it's not being rigorously enforced and people are not observing it in the way they were before, we end up in the nightmare halfway house where it doesn't serve the public health interest, which is what the first one was about, and it doesn't also help economically because all these businesses are shut down. Are you worried about that?
Well, it is a different set of national restrictions to the last ones. We never said that this was replicating a national lockdown of the kind that we experienced in March and April. This time, we prioritised keeping education open, and I think over 99% of schools are open. My kids are at school this morning. We also said that if you can't work from home, then you can go to work. So if you work in construction or manufacturing or agriculture, you can and should go to work. So it is quite different to last time. But the scientists do believe the restrictions we've put in place will make a difference, that it will reduce the amount of interaction that we have with others, and that will help to bear down on the virus.
It's a good example,
but it is a
Robert
balance.
Jenrick. Sorry, do you think
if I could just complete the point, it is an important balance to be struck here.
It is a balance. And do you think it was a good example of number 10? When you say that you have to work from home, and if you can't go into work, why were those MPs in number 10 when they could easily have met the Prime Minister virtually by Zoom? And why have you not had a secure, COVID-secure number 10 as an example to the rest of the country?
Well, number 10 is COVID secure in the sense they've put in place the same procedures that we're asking people to do in workplaces across the country.
Well, it's not true, is it? Because those MPs weren't socially distanced from the Prime Minister.
I wasn't in the meeting, but I believe that they were. There's certainly the photos.
We've just seen the photographs where they're a
that I've
metre
seen
away.
shows people stood apart. The vast majority of the meetings that I have with the Prime Minister now are over Zoom. Shortly after this interview, I'm going to Cabinet, where the Prime Minister will be coming in on Zoom because he's self-isolating.
The
meeting you were discussing earlier, Piers mentioned, where the PM
mistake?
spoke about Scotland to a group of Conservative MPs. That was a Zoom call. So politics has adapted, as the whole of the country has. But it is important that MPs take their responsibilities to their constituents and the country seriously. And that does mean that if they're healthy and willing to do so, that they do come down to Parliament, participate in debates, because at the end of the day, just as I'm coming on this show, that's how people hold ministers to account.
Look, let's be honest, there was no reason why any of those MPs needed to be in number 10 other than to do a jolly little photo call with the Prime Minister that's now rendered him out of action for 2 weeks. It was ridiculous. Final question before we let you go. It's 3 years since the Grenfell disaster. Incredibly, 249 high-rise apartment blocks are yet to be made completely safe. This is a scandal. This is on your watch. My number one priority, if I was a housing secretary, would be to ensure another Grenfell never happened again. How can so many apartment blocks still be unsafe? Why are we having to have waking watch operatives marching around high-rise blocks in this country to protect people from burning to death?
Well, I share your frustration that it's taken us so long. With respect to the cladding that was on Grenfell Tower, the most dangerous form, called ACM cladding, actually a lot of progress has been made in the last year. You could argue it should have been made sooner, but I've worked hard with my team to try to expedite that. And 80% of the buildings that have that cladding have now had it either remediated or there are workers on site today doing that work.
So how many then of the 249 high-rise blocks that are yet to be made completely safe have that ACM on them?
Well, there's 450 buildings that we know have had ACM cladding on them. Of those, 80% have workers on site taking it off today, or it's already been remediated. In the social sector, where government, if you like, or councils and housing associations have greatest control, that's much higher. That's 97%.
But you know what it
in
should
the
be?
private
We've got to leave
sector,
it,
it's lower.
Mr. Jenrick, we've got to leave it. You need to get this cladding off these buildings. Nobody wants to see that happen again.
Yeah, I completely agree.
That's your job.
And I hope that by the end of this year, I'll be able to come on the programme and either it will have come off every building or there will be workers on site in each of those. There are a few exceptions, but with those exceptions, we want to make sure every building has workers on site by the end of this year.